All right, let's get right into it. Today, we're diving deep into the film Homebound, which is just this incredibly powerful look at aspiration and survival in modern India. Now, this isn't going to be your typical movie review. What we're going to do is break down exactly how the film manages to build such a tragic and honestly unforgettable social critique. And it all kicks off with one single haunting line. Right from the start, the film hits you with this line. In English, it means, "There is only road." And wow, does that set the tone. It immediately frames this as a journey that doesn't really have a destination. It's not about getting somewhere specific, it's about the endless, relentless struggle of just being on the path. It really captures the entire essence of the story we're about to unpack. Okay, so here's our game plan for this explainer. We're going to start with the story the film makes you think you're watching, and then we'll see how that promise gets completely shattered. From there, we'll dig into its unflinching, raw style, then hit the turning point where it all becomes about survival, and we'll wrap up with its incredibly powerful, unresolved ending. First up, let's talk about that familiar feeling. When we first meet our main characters, Chandan and Shoaib, you could be forgiven for thinking you know where this is going. The movie sets them on a path that feels like a classic, almost textbook coming-of-age story. I mean, their goals are so clear, and you can totally get behind them. They're training like crazy for the police exams, they're disciplined, they're focused. But here's the thing. For them, it's not just about getting a job. That police uniform, it's a symbol. It means authority, it means stability, it means being accepted by the system. They truly believe that if they can just become a part of that system, they can finally escape the stigma of their caste, their religion, and their class. It's the ultimate story of trying to climb the ladder. But this is where the film pulls the rug out from under you. This is the broken promise. Because the film doesn't just set up that familiar expectation by accident. It does it very, very deliberately, just so it can tear it all down and show you a much, much harsher reality. And to really get what the film is doing here, you gotta know this term, Bildungsroman. Yeah, I know, it's a fancy German word, but the concept is simple. It just means a coming-of-age story. You know the type. A young hero grows up, learns about the world, and finds their place in it. It's a journey from innocence to maturity. Well, Homebound takes that entire idea and uses it as a kind of narrative trap. This chart really lays it all out. In a classic story, education gets you a better life. In Homebound, it gets you disappointment. Instead of climbing that social ladder, they slam right into a wall of structural exclusion. Their ambition isn't rewarded. It's just constantly shut down. They're not growing into stable adults. They're being pushed into a state of deep, unsettling uncertainty. This is what we mean by a broken Bildungsroman. It's the anti-coming-of-age story. So you might be wondering, do they even grow at all? And the answer is yes, but it's not the kind of growth you'd ever want for yourself. Their big moment of maturity isn't about figuring out how to succeed in the system. It's the painful realization of why the system is designed to keep people like them out. This isn't some triumphant, inspiring moment. It's the slow, heavy arrival of a really burdened conscience. So how in the world does this film achieve that raw, gut punch of a tone? Well, it all comes down to its cinematic style, which is completely unflinching and absolutely refuses to give you any easy way out emotionally. The best way to describe this style is as literary naturalism. And I know that sounds pretty academic, but the idea behind it is actually simple. Naturalism basically sees people as products of their environment. It suggests that their lives are shaped and maybe even controlled by huge forces they can't escape, like their social class or their economic situation. The filmmaker isn't a storyteller in the traditional sense. They're more like a scientist, just observing their subjects with a cold, objective eye. So let's break down this toolkit. First, you've got the camera. It's often distant, patient, it's not judging, it's just watching. Second, and this is huge, is the focus on the body. Social inequality isn't some abstract concept here. It is physically written on these characters through their sweat, their hunger, their sheer exhaustion. Third, the film uses silence, a lot. There's almost no musical score, and that's on purpose. It denies us that emotional comfort music provides. We can't escape. We are forced to just witness. And finally, the characters have very little real agency. Sure, they make choices, but those choices are always boxed in by these massive forces around them. Then, right at the midpoint of the film, a single event happens that completely shatters the narrative we've been following. Survival mode gets switched on, and everything we thought the story was about is just gone. And that event, of course, is the COVID-19 lockdown. It causes this massive shift. The whole first half of the movie is a social drama about trying to get a job and find some dignity. The second half, it becomes a brutal, gritty survival thriller. The pandemic here isn't just a random plot twist. It's what you'd call a structural revelation. It doesn't actually create any new problems. It just acts like a giant X-ray, exposing all the vulnerabilities that were already there and showing us just how paper-thin the promise of safety really was. And just like that, everything they were fighting for, a career, respect, a place in society, it all just evaporates. The entire story is violently stripped down to the most basic primal human needs: finding food, finding a safe place to rest, finding simple physical safety. This is not some heroic journey. It's a slow, repetitive, and honestly degrading struggle just to continue existing. So, after everything these guys endure, after all that struggle, how does it all end? Well, this brings us to what might be the toughest part of the whole film, its unresolved ending. It's the movie's final and most challenging statement. The film ends as a full-blown existential tragedy. There's no neat resolution. No one gets justice. Their suffering isn't because of some personal mistake or fatal flaw. It's because of a system that is just indifferent to them. And even the fact that they survive feels hollow. They make it through, but they aren't empowered by it. Life just kind of continues. The film refuses to give you a tidy little lesson to make all that pain feel like it was worth something. And this quote just nails the film's entire mission. It's not trying to explain suffering or wrap it up in a neat little package for you. It's doing something much harder and much more important. It is forcing you, the viewer, to simply pay attention to suffering itself, in its raw, unexplained form. It makes us more than just an audience. It makes us ethical witnesses. Which leaves us all with this final, lingering question. By refusing to give us any easy answers or a sense of closure, the film basically transfers the responsibility directly onto us. It challenges us to stop being passive viewers and to really confront the uncomfortable world it shows us. When a story shows you a problem this clearly but offers no solution, it's really asking you to think about your own role in a world where stories like this aren't fiction at all. They're reality.